Assuming into power, the American president, Donald Trump, is determined to deport all illegal immigrants living and working in America. To this, Kenya is affected with over 1,000 Kenyans are expected to be deported back to this country. Today on board, we've got an economic expert who will be digging deep into the implications of this deportation, both locally and also internationally. Stay tuned at Mku's Eye because this is the only platform, the only leading digital media that is here to bring you the latest trends on economic and social well-being, both locally and internationally. And on board, we've got Calvin Dono, who will also introduce himself and give us in-depth of our topics today, dubbed as economic struggles. Welcome, Mr. Calvin.
Thank you for having me.
So, hope you've been good.
Yeah, I'm good. Celebrating the Easter and everything.
And everything in peace.
Yeah.
And concerning now, it's going to be nice celebrating Easter, but as for most of us Kenyans, since Trump got into power, they feel like it's been a nightmare. Not only for Kenyans, but most of the African countries and other countries globally. They feel like Trump is stepping or biting more than he can chew. What is your take or maybe immediate economic implication of deportation of over 1,000 Kenyans who are being said or who are said to be illegally immigrants of US? What could be the implications in relation to remittance?
Okay. So in relation to the remittance, remittances are the key sources of foreign exchange and household incomes in Kenya, whereby you find that many people that is in Kenya rely on relatives who work in US, and in this you find that they send funds, and by sending funds they have to consume them or also invest, and now as an impact you find that there will be less consumption, and through less consumption this means also less investments, and through less investments that leads to a lesser GDP, hence a hit on the Kenyan economy.
And just on the same point, maybe to add on another question, which are the sectors that are in Kenya that are most likely to be hit with that move?
Okay, so first of all, like the sector like the economy. Secondly, we may speak of real estate, that is in the aspect of investing.
Okay, so the real estate will be affected also as well.
Yeah, and the education sector, and much more also on the health sector as well.
Sure. And what could be the long-term effect in relation to development? Maybe if we picture it by Vision 2030, what would be the long-term effect to this?
Okay, so knowing that Vision 2030 is a long-term goal of Kenya since back in the days of Kibaki, Uhuru came, and now we have President Honorable William Samoei Ruto. You find that now, as an effect to that long-term vision, if there won't be proper education, if there will not be proper investment that is on the real estates, and speaking of the real estates, we major on things like the infrastructure. So poor infrastructure may derail the long-term goal of the Vision 2030, and therefore, economic-wise, it means like before we reach, or in the time that we'll be reaching in achieving the Vision 2030, as knowing that it's a plan for the years until the year 2030, you find at the end of the day we will be backwards in terms of what we could have achieved if we could have really invested on sectors like education, infrastructure, and yeah.
And in relation to global effect, what might be the risk that this is the decision that has been made by Trump, as in what in terms of global, what are the risks that might come with that decision that Trump made, and Trump is making to deport over each and every illegal immigrants to their respective countries?
Okay, speaking globally, there there will be strains in terms of relations with other countries, not just in Kenya, but also in other African countries and other countries as well. So you find at the end of the day, we as Kenyans also, or the Kenyan government might seek the traditional help that we never used to rely on, like countries like Europe, Kenya, and many more countries. And you find that this also as an impact onto us, it will increase the foreign debt, and the foreign debt will increase in foreign debt will make us to be more dependent on other countries, hence a hit on us as Kenyans.
Okay. And maybe you can highlight adjustment that the treasury of the country, of the Kenya country, can make so that maybe fit within their budgets.
Okay, so speaking of what the treasury can do, okay, so the treasury will have to adjust its financial statements, that is in relation to the general GDP of the Kenyan economy, working together with the banks and key sectors such as okay, industries, manufacturing industries, call them food processing industries, beverages, and this will lead to checking on financial statements. And while checking on financial statements, due to there will be that part of impairment, and you see in impairments do bring losses.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, when impairments come about, they have to be carried forward. So it means if a company or maybe a certain sector has not been making like the entire general net profit, so it means at the end of the day, if it does not make net profit before taxes because of losses or maybe expenses, at the end of the day it will have to carry forward its operations or the net tax that was supposed to be taken in place, that is this year.
So that will lead to automatic closure in the companies.
Okay, I tend to believe as they carry forward, they are given a grace period of like 3 years.
But it will pile up.
Yeah.
And at some point, it will be hit to an extent they won't even pay.
So at the end of the day, it will lead to the closure of companies and many key sectors. This will lead to unemployment, and increase in employment brings chaos.
Great. And as we conclude, maybe your take-home message to the government or a parting shot to the government or the citizens who might be hit hard because of, for instance, some people have got like, their parents stay abroad for the job and they send something home for upkeep. Maybe you can tell them something and also urge the government or advise the government on the best way possible to tackle this hard reality that they are yet to face.
Wow. So, unto the government, I tend to believe that it's time that we invest more on foreign exportation. That is, the locally produced or manufactured goods or products. The government should, provide more opportunities for us to export more, and also support the growing industries, the growing basic home industries. So, and to the sectors of education, the government should look for a system that would really incorporate now the youths, so that employment opportunities may be gotten, and at the end of the day, this will lead to greater standards of living, and at the end of the day, maybe our Vision 2030 will be achieved.
Okay, that's all for today, and thank you for staying tuned at Mukun's iMedia. We've been here with our guest, analyzing the impacts of deportation and the Trump's current move as he aimed to make America great again. However, some countries are at a threshold or are in pain for whatever he's taking, though he claims also that there is only doing what other countries are doing for him. It's a give and take affair, so he doesn't take any issue. He won't show mercy to anybody. If you give him food, he'll give you food. If you give him